Welcome back everyone to the WHAM Wrestling Association of the Mid-South here on Mark Northern's Effganic Genesis mod here in TEW9. We're building some steam as we attempt to take over the world of professional wrestling and become the biggest company in all of wrestling. We've still got a little ways to go as we are number 3. We're nearing the end of 1932, but we're going to close out the year in a big way here with this episode. Before we get into any of our events, we've got to check out The Goof, the independent wrestling circuit that we've got that has brought some unemployed workers back into the ring, or maybe into the ring for the first time, but they do have Albie Dewberry, longtime big member of the WHAM. He is on top as their Intercontinental Champion, and he's the only one to hold that title because he has not been defeated since gaining it. You can see here he's outperforming everyone he's lining up against, and it's good to see some familiar faces just staying active, even when not part of the WHAM. As of right now, we've got everything taken care of that we need to, so we are ready to jump right into the Fortnite Fisticuffs. You know we've got some pre-show matches, our first being a tag team contest between Maxwell Ham, Moses Lilia against Jeremy Funderburk and Wayne Blankenship. To no surprise, the big strong heavyweights pick up the victory as Maxwell Ham leads the charge with an in-ring performance of 54, Moses Lilia had a 44, Wayne Blankenship with a 33, and Jeremy Funderburk with a 36. Good work to get things going with a match rating of 43. Now our next pre-show match is a one-on-one contest with Black Bull and Rahan and Rawa Boy. Black Bull continuing to build that dominant streak. He comes out with a decisive victory with an in-ring performance of 48, while Rawa Boy gets a 41. Another decent match rating of 43 here. Now the show begins with all of the lights out. When the lights return, Bryant Hines and the Dark Carnival are in the ring. Hines begins a statement to not only the audience, but the WHAM locker room. The internal conflict between the Dark Carnival and Black Bull lies solely on the fault of 3 men, Neil Allman, Bronson Fraley, and Black Bull. Bryant Hines scorns all 3, spitting that they are to blame for the chaos of late. Hines promises the Dark Carnival will make each and every one of them pay. Segment rating of 43, Craig Bean gets a penalty because he is not a charismatic man, unfortunately. We just asked him for a non-speaking appearance and he still underperformed, so that's not great, but overall, not a bad way to get the night going. However, this next match is not the way you want to get things going. 2 ladies going one-on-one in the Women's WHAM Pre. Ivy Baldridge is not off of her game and she finally gets a pretty solid in-ring performance. 37 for her, Talia Rayleigh with a 26, and Ivy Baldridge is the one to come out on top. This will give her her second victory here in the Women's WHAM Pre, moving her closer to her goal, but she gets an in-ring performance of 37, but all in all we get a match rating of 36 between these ladies. The Women's WHAM Pre continues in the next match and we see another good performance with some serious varying in the degree of competitor. Kuni Hashiguchi looking great, picking up the victory, in-ring performance of 54, and that will in fact qualify her for the points needed to move on into the Women's Championship. She still needs one more victory, but this will put her over 200 points. Berbidia Abeta, 39, Sheila Velasco with a 26, and we get a match rating of 45. Now in our next match, we've got tag team action featuring the Oklahoma Openweight Champion Chuck Wellington teaming alongside his brother Duke to face Matu Scarborough and Woodrow Gunter. Matu Scarborough and Woodrow Gunter, unsurprisingly, come away victorious after Woodrow Gunter would pin Duke Wellington. If you watched the last episode, you would be well aware of the antics Chuck Wellington used to retain his championship against Matu Scarborough. Matu Scarborough was furious over this. Woodrow Gunter has also been dealing with Chuck, the Wellington boys, and their shenanigans. So we get this tag team match here. The heavyweight, Matu Scarborough and Woodrow Gunter look good. Gunter with a 57, Scarborough with a 59. The Wellington boys get a 33, and overall we get a match rating of 50. And even in victory, Matu Scarborough looks visibly annoyed. Woodrow Gunter offers guidance, but Scarborough refuses, once again walking out on his tag team partner after the match. Matu Scarborough not only developing the star that he is, but his character is also developing a little bit more, and it's becoming clear that he's a little bit not as even-keeled as he may have seemed. He's got a very cool, calm demeanor, but when things don't go his way, he gets rather frustrated. The man seems to operate pretty close to boiling point. And he's had tension with Sebastian Morales, Rahan Marlowe, and now Woodrow Gunter. The young guy's just a little hot-headed, but we get a segment rating of 54 here. Now we've got a very competitive triple threat match between our junior heavyweights, as we've got Super Monkey, Archie Filer, and Joel Cartwright And despite the fact that there were times where there was a definite lack of psychology, the match still delivered with a rating of 62. Monkey at 60, Filer at 64, and Cartwright at 59. But Joel Cartwright would be the one to come out on top here. No major shenanigans, just a really competitive triple threat. Joel Cartwright ending up finding the opportunity to submit Super Monkey. Archie Filer didn't take the loss, but he also didn't pick up the victory. Now our main event of the night has got Sebastian Morales and Rahan Marlow challenging the Wham OGs for their tag team championships. Now we had the makings for a very strong match here. However, Sebastian Morales would sustain some cracked ribs. He should be able to work through them, but even in this match, they took a big toll. The positive is that Rahan Marlow and Sebastian Morales showed excellent chemistry when teaming together. However, that injury is going to be a big blow, really unfortunate. However, we would see Sebastian Morales and Rahan Marlow coming out on top to win the Wham Tag Team Championships and end the championship reign of the Wham OGs far sooner than what I would imagine most people would expect, given just the level of competitors they are. Bronson Fraley 54, Neil Allman 67, Sebastian Morales 55, and Rahan Marlow 59. It wasn't without some shenanigans. Bryant Hines would come in, distracting both Bronson Fraley and Neil Allman, already making an impact and showing that he has some serious meaning behind his words when he says that he's going to make people pay. In this case, costing Neil Allman and Bronson Fraley the Wham Tag Team Championships, and now the titles go from a pair of powerhouse heavyweights to another pair of top-tier powerhouse heavyweights. So the injury really hurt this, which is unfortunate, but all in all, encouraging performances, but not what we were hoping for the main event. Regardless, we still get a show rating of 54, not bad by any means. That's still going to help us. We increase our popularity in 5 regions, and top to bottom, to the exception of Ivy Baldridge and Talia Rayleigh, we actually had a pretty strong show. And honestly, Baldridge and Rayleigh did overperform a little bit. They definitely exceeded my expectations. And after the show, we praised Chuck Wellington, Talia Rayleigh, and Angus Wellington. Sebastian Morales' injury is very minor. We're not even going to see it come the next show. It just really hampered our main event rating, which is unfortunate. And we're still profiting really good money, $18,000 from this show. As we prepare for the next event, we've got some big news. Fumihiko Onoda has walked out on FNP. I can only imagine it's because he didn't get a single match with FNP. They signed him and they didn't use him. I think that's pretty justified. He is in the Mid-South, so maybe we hire him for a one-night deal or something. Or maybe we just hire him to be on the roster. I don't know if we really need him, but, you know, I love me some Fumihiko Onoda. Sebastian Morales is fully fit from his cracked ribs. And we've got an interesting one, as Veronica Lutter's got 30 days remaining on her contract, but she does not want to negotiate a new contract. I wonder if this will be another Friedrich Herzog situation where she is unwilling to negotiate an extended contract but is happy to make a new one when she's released, but who knows. So we're not going to be able to sign her. She's got no interest. It's unfortunate. She's been happy here. She's still happy and she's been performing well, but she does work with TWA, I think the same nights that our Fortnite Fist Cups run, so we can't even use her that often. Joel Cartwright coming to the last 30 days of his contract. That is a man that we are definitely going to negotiate. We're going to keep it non-exclusive. We're going to make it for 2 years, and I assume that he will accept this one. Layla Pascal, though, this one's a little interesting. I'm not too sure about her. She is dating Black Bull, so if I let her walk, he may not love it. We'll probably just keep her on at least for a little while longer, just to see how that goes. We'll say 6 months. But she might be someone that, if our morale doesn't need her, we might end up letting her walk because she's not a serviceable competitor in the ring at all. Archie Filer's reached the final 30 days of his contract. We're definitely offering this man a new contract, another 2 years. Let's see if he accepts it. And the last one, Jeremy Funderburk, final 30 days in his contract. Definitely extending his contract for sure. We've actually seen some pretty decent growth from Funderburk. He's now reached 20 popularity in the Mid-South. His stats still not very good. Consistency is very low. However, he's progressing relatively quickly. He's very young. He's gonna end up being very good technically. However, all of those contracts are gonna have to wait until after our next show. And before that next show, we got to check out the Goofs. And for the first time, they've got no red on their match report. That's very good for them. Albie Dewberry's still the star of the show over there. You love to see it. They've implemented some tag team titles. That's cool. I'll be Dewberry competing up against guys like Ben Morris, a 29-year-old who's got 5 years of experience. He's a troublemaker, so we probably will never see him. He's not very good, and he doesn't have much experience, so this is probably the most significant work that Ben Morris is going to see. Taylor Simmons, however, he's got a decent amount of experience at 18. He actually worked with CWB for 5 years, so he's been around in the wrestling world for a little while, and he's back in the saddle getting some work here in the Goof Wrestling organization. You love it. He's been able to find himself some work here with Goof Wrestling. So in preparing for our next show, I have uncovered a serious red flag with Fumihiko Onoda, unfortunately. He requested to come hang out backstage because he loves the Wham, and I love Fumihiko Onoda, but I noticed that he has a very strong dislike of Veronica Letter. That's unfortunate. That is a serious detriment to the locker room, because not only does that create rifts between he and Veronica Letter, but that will indirectly create rifts with he and Jay Letter as well. So we're gonna let him hang out backstage because I love the guy, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna let it happen again in the future if we end up re-signing Veronica Letter. Actually, no, I'm not. No, we'll bring him back if Veronica Letter leaves. But otherwise, we're going to say no. Talia Rayleigh and Neil Allman have begun dating as well. That's big news. Though it is time to once again get into another edition of the Fortnite Fisticuffs. We've got a big edition with quite a few pre-show matches this time around, 3 of them. The Women's Wham Pre really cuts into a lot of the guys getting their normal screen time and normal ring time, I suppose. But anyway, we've got Turner Spiller kicking things off with a victory over Brian Hatcher in our first pre-show match. Turner Spiller with an in-ring performance of 55, Brian Hatcher at a 38, just keeping these boys active and putting in good ratings, honestly, for themselves, 47 here. However, it's not going to continue with the next match, as we've got Jeremy Funderburk, Raw LaBoy, and Kamari Flanders in a triple threat, and we finally see Raw LaBoy doing some good work, the work that we were hoping to see from the beginning. Granted, he needed to build his popularity up here, but he got an in-ring performance of 45 here in this match. Jeremy Funderburk with a 33, and Kamari Flanders with a 32. This is tangible progress with all 3 of these guys since they've come into the Wham. Match rating of 37. Our final pre-show match has got the tag team champions in the ring going up against the team of Barakui, Diego Bergen and Kitahachi Kukui. 63 for Rahan Marlowe, 68 for Sebastian Morales, 46 for Kukui, and 45 for Diego Bergen. Both teams have excellent chemistry, and they put in a nice match here, even though it is just on the pre-show. Now, unfortunately, this match could not be on the pre-show because it's part of the Women's Wham Pre, and no pre-show matches allowed. We've got a 4-way match where we would see one of these ladies pick up their first win in the Wham and in the Wham Pre, and the one picking up the victory would be Sheila Velasco, defeating Rhea Quarry, Super Rabbit, and Mariana Calvo. Mariana Calvo actually had the best in-ring performance with a 30, Rhea Quarry had a 27, and Super Rabbit and Sheila both got 24s. So Sheila Velasco getting herself a big, crucial victory here in the Women's Wham Pre, but we just get a match rating of 28. And the Women's Wham Pre continues in the next match. Unfortunately, Berbidia Abeta cannot get away from the injury bug, as she sustained a bruised pec muscle in this match. Very unfortunate, my gosh, she's got some really bad luck. But she gets an in-ring performance of 37, Ivy Baldridge, the winner of the match, gets a 36, and Talia Rayleigh gets a 32, the new girlfriend of Neil Allman, for whatever that's worth. But very competitive match. These ladies are starting to separate themselves out of that bottom tier. They're doing some good work for themselves. I can't believe Berbidia Abeta got injured again. This is just her second match after her dislocated shoulder. But it is what it is, and Ivy Baldridge picks up her 3rd victory here in the Women's Wham Pre. But honestly, what might even be more important is that we are seeing more consistent performances from Ivy Baldridge. She's been on the right side of 30 the last few matches, and that is really big for her. Now in our next match, we've got Black Bull and Maxwell Ham going one-on-one, and we would see Black Bull defeating Maxwell Ham thanks to the finisher, the Gore. Both of these guys have fantastic managers, and those managers did some good work ringside, helping the match quality, even if there was a definite lack of psychology on display at times. 2 big dudes, 2 very physical, powerful men going at it with one another. Black Bull emphasized that he didn't want the help of Maxwell Ham and that he's no friend of his. They're not on good terms. Black Bull doesn't trust anybody at this point. And so that physical confrontation, that tension, that issue came to head here in this match. Match rating of 51, and we got some good work from these guys. Bull had a 50, Maxwell Ham had a 56. Now our next match sees the Oklahoma Openweight champion back in action, singles competition against Matu Scarborough. However, we are here in Houston, Texas, meaning the Oklahoma Openweight Championship cannot be on the line. And this would be a good competitive matchup. Matu Scarborough would end up pulling off the victory. However, there is some shenanigans here that I didn't necessarily include it into the road agents properly, but Duke Wellington would try to distract Matu Scarborough, shift the tides of the match. However, Woodrow Gunter would come down and put an end to any kind of chicanery from the Wellington boys. This allowed Matu Scarborough to stay unhindered, stay focused, and put away the match against the Oklahoma Openweight champion, pinning him with a clean 1-2-3. And honestly, Chuck Wellington, this might be the best match he's ever had here with an in-ring performance of 41. Good job. Matu Scarborough with a 57, and altogether these guys give us a match rating of 53. So really good work here. Chuck Wellington is starting to surprise me a little bit with his performances. Good work. And after the match, Woodrow Gunter and Matu Scarborough share another tense encounter. Instead of showing any kind of gratitude for Gunter's involvement, Matu Scarborough scolds Woodrow, yelling he could have handled this on his own, further reinforcing Matu Scarborough's ungratefulness, hot-headedness. Got very much a big ego, but he wants to do it on his own, and you can't really fault him for that. You get a segment rating of 55 as their relationship continues to gain some tension. Our main event of the night, the next match, puts Bronson Fraley in a handicap situation against the Dark Carnival, Blue Mage and Craig Bean. Obviously, at the last event, the Dark Carnival costed Bronson Fraley and Neil Allman their tag team championships, and now we are seeing a handicap match between Bronson Fraley and, of course, the big muscle of the Dark Carnival. Neil Allman was forced to just stay ringside. He was not going to be a part of this match. He was not allowed, even with his protest. But we would see Bronson Fraley, really good performance for himself, 54 rating. Craig Bean had a 42, Blue Mage had a 54, but Blue Mage and Craig Bean would eventually overwhelm Bronson Fraley. Bronson Fraley is a damn good competitor, but Blue Mage and Craig Bean are formidable. They're strong, big men, and that just can't be overlooked. They've lost handicap matches before. It's not going to happen that often. They take care of business here, putting down Bronson Fraley in really brutal fashion as well. The match could have ended well before it actually did. And there would be a crucial point where Bryant Hines would actually strike Bronson Fraley down with a hammer, with what looked like a hammer. Of course, it's a gimmicked hammer, but it just was a brutal scene. Bronson Fraley, he was helpless. It was almost garnering sympathy, even though he's not the most honorable, most likable guy, I guess. But that just speaks to the ferocity of the Dark Carnival that is deep down within them. But we get a match rating of 56 for our final match of the night, but we get a segment to end us off. After the match, the Dark Carnival begin to bring Bronson Fraley to the back. This would not go without resistance from Neil Allman, though the champion was ultimately fended off by the threat of Blue Mage wielding a hammer. The champion decided not to retaliate and only to watch as the Dark Carnival took Bronson Fraley away from the ring area. Segment rating of 53 to end the show. Of course, Craig Bean underperformed. That's what he does in these angles. Neil Allman looking excellent. That's what he does. But just big tension swirling as we get into the next event of the amazing grappling spectacle that is to come. Neil Allman, what is he going to do without Bronson Fraley? Is Bronson Fraley ever going to come back? But all in all, we get an overall show rating, 54, increasing our popularity in all 6 regions as we are no longer capped in the Mid-South for the month. Of course, the ladies didn't turn in the strongest of performances, but otherwise, the matches and angles scored really well. After the show, we praised Talia Rayleigh, Angus Wellington, and Ivy Baldridge. Berbidia Abeta cannot be stopped. She can still work through her bruised pec, but it is going to be lingering for 26 days. Still profiting good money, $15,000 for this show. And we do see a jump, 27 to 28 in the Midwest, 23 in the East, 22 to 23 in the Southeast, and 23 to 24 in the Southwest. And we do see Archie Filer and Jeremy Funderburk have both accepted their contracts. Still waiting on Joel Cartwright and Layla Pascal. But we would not have to wait long, as the very next day. And some more news, Jackson Barden has moved from Canada to the Mid-South, so now we're not paying for his travel. And Black Demon has relocated back from the Mid-South back to Kensai, Japan. He's not going to be available for any one-night deals anymore. Not that we had any major plans on doing it, but he was there. And more news, Sheila Velasco has relocated from Mexico to the Mid-South. Joe Bryant and Sloan Knutson have officially left the WHAM, and Joel Cartwright has received a contract offer from FNP. I think this would be his first ever... Nope, okay, he has worked with CWB in the past back when they were still a company, which they're no longer. But it looks like he's going to be joining FNP more than likely. And I've decided we're going to try the chiropractor out one more time, save the rules, and we'll see if we can get this backstage rules having a negative effect. We're going to try to see if we can get that to go away, especially since we got some financial flexibility. Now we've got a big edition of the amazing grappling spectacle ahead. Let's take another look at the women's WHAM Prix and how things are shaking up. Kuni Hashiguchi, we didn't see her at the last event, but she has a very safe and commanding lead with 4 victories, only needing 1 more, and she's already met the point qualification mark, allowing her to compete for that women's championship, assuming that she can get 1 more victory. Ivy Baldridge, a surprising 2nd place. She's got 3 victories, only 2 away from securing her shot at the women's championship. She still needs about 40 more points before she qualifies, but I think she'd be able to do it if she gets 2 more wins. Rubidia Abeta, she's got a victory, she's got 3 losses, but she's also got 154 points. Talia Rayleigh, another similar case, 1 victory, 4 losses, 145 points. Veronica Lutter though, her lack of availability has really hurt her in the women's WHAM Prix, giving her a victory, 1 loss, and 103 points. Sheila Velasco's got a victory, but she actually doesn't have as many points as Mariana Calvo. However, the victories are a bit more crucial than the points are in this case, giving her that edge. Outside the top 7, we've got Super Rabbit and Rhea Quarry, both doing whatever they can to just stay alive. I don't think they've got any shot of reaching the women's title, but they can at least crack this top 7. It is time that we begin the Amazing Grappling Spectacle 91. We've got quite a few pre-show matches this time because I wanted to just get as many people involved as I felt compelled to. Our first pre-show match is a big one. We've got a few big ones actually, but the first one's a 6-man tag team match, 3-on-3, Jeremy Funderburk alongside Barrett Cooey, teaming up, going against Jackson Barden, Kamari Flanders, and Wayne Blankenship. Jeremy Funderburk and Barrett Cooey were the ones to come out on top as Diego Berrigan forced Kamari Flanders to submit. Jeremy Funderburk with a 31, Kitahachi Kukui with a 44, Diego Berrigan with a 43, Wayne Blankenship 32, Kamari Flanders 33, and Jackson Barden 27. Funderburk was really off of his game, but he's still over 30, so that just shows that the man is progressing. This pre-show match gets us a 36 rating. A 41 rating for our next pre-show match, much better. 5-man free-for-all match, as Brian Hatcher, Moses Lilia, Maxwell Ham, RT Lincoln, and Super Monkey all go at it. RT Lincoln would be the one to come out on top in this cross-division matchup, and unfortunately, Super Monkey sustained a minor injury, a swollen calf muscle. This only slowed him down a little bit, which is encouraging, and it just speaks to the toughness of Super Monkey. But we had some good performances here. RT Lincoln, namely, with a 60. Super Monkey with a 55, Maxwell Ham with a 54, Moses Lilia with a 47, and Brian Hatcher with a 38. So RT Lincoln just showing that his reign as junior heavyweight champion was not a fluke, coming through with another really good in-ring performance here. And unfortunately, there will be some backstage heat on Moses Lilia because of Super Monkey's injury, even though Super Monkey's injury is going to be really, really minor. Now the show gets going with the Women's WHAM Prix, another triple threat. Unfortunately, this was not the best way to get the night going. But where else are you going to put these ladies? We got Sheila Velasco, Mariana Calvo, and Talia Rayleigh competing in a triple threat match, and Talia Rayleigh picking up her 2nd victory here in the Women's WHAM Prix on the back of a decent performance with a 33. Mariana Calvo with a 32, and Sheila Velasco got a 27. A lot of negatives here in the road agent notes. The bout dragged in the middle. Kuni Hashiguchi got dinged for her road agent work, but everyone does, so I'm not going to hold it against her. But the match was a poor way to start the show, took away the crowd's initial enthusiasm, and it cooled the crowd. Segment rating of 23 though. Now to keep the show rolling, we've got Sebastian Morales and Rahan Marlowe coming out to the ring, placing an open challenge to any team that thinks they can hang with 2 premier talents. Just a quick angle gave us a rating of 50, and it did get the crowd interested again. But the crowd is still unclear even after this match, unfortunate. But we've got Turner Spittler and his manager, Chris Brownfield, answering the call to compete for the tag team championships, However, we would see Sebastian Morales and Rahan Marlow successfully defend those titles. Excellent chemistry amongst both teams, you love to see it. Good in-ring performances, Sebastian Morales with a 64, Rahan Marlow 58, Chris Brownfield down there at a 38, but Turner Spittler with a 58. That makes for a match rating of 57. Good work as Rahan Marlow and Sebastian Morales make their very first successful defense as tag team champions. Now our next match, we had to get these ladies to start working the crowd opposed to putting on an absolute banger, but we still had a really good match. Triple threat between Ivy Baldridge, Kuni Hashiguchi, and Veronica Lutter as the women's Wham Prix continues. Kuni Hashiguchi has been undefeated so far, knocking down everybody she's gone up against. She puts in another great in-ring performance, however, she takes her very first loss, as Veronica Lutter is able to come out on top in this triple threat match. Strong performances, Kuni Hashiguchi 56, Veronica Lutter 52, Ivy Baldridge not terrible with a 36, and we get a match rating of 48 for this triple threat, and we do wake the crowd up a little bit more. But the story here, Kuni Hashiguchi has been undefeated throughout this entire women's Wham Prix. That undefeated streak ends here. So in what was supposed to be the match that wrapped up Kuni Hashiguchi's qualifications for the women's title, the plans go south. In fact, they go mid-south. Sorry. Moving on into the next match, triple threat for the Oklahoma Openweight Championship. Matu Scarborough, Woodrow Gunter both getting the opportunity to compete against Chuck Wellington. And Chuck Wellington, it's got to be noted, he gets another in-ring performance north of 40. And not only that, but he also successfully defended his championship. Little shenanigans. Of course, this would be a big-time triple threat match. Matu Scarborough, Woodrow Gunter, very intense, very focused on becoming champion. And Chuck Wellington very concerned with his state as champion. However, Matu Scarborough and Woodrow Gunter basically take care of business with Chuck Wellington. They render him what they think is unresponsive and unable to continue and make any kind of mark on this match. This then opens the alley to become a one-on-one match between Matu Scarborough and Woodrow Gunter, in essence, in just the way that it is being conducted. Chuck Wellington's out. However, once the match kind of climaxes and comes to head, Matu Scarborough and Woodrow Gunter are both down. Woodrow Gunter hits a big move on Scarborough. Chuck Wellington then comes in and basically cleans up, gets Woodrow Gunter out of the ring, smashes him into the turnbuckle for a moment, puts him down, and Matu Scarborough down for the count. Chuck Wellington vultures that pinfall and ultimately walks out, still Wham Oklahoma Openweight Champion. Matu Scarborough, excellent in-ring performance of 57. Woodrow Gunter, not bad himself, 47. And Chuck Wellington, we already talked about it. We get a match rating of 43. Not bad given the fact that it's a Chuck Wellington match, given the fact that we had to keep these two boys strong, and given the fact that this match was designed to tell a specific story versus wowing the crowd. So all in all, good work here. Kuni Hashiguchi, not bad work as the road agent either. We see a good match for this Oklahoma Openweight Championship. And now we get a really good match between the junior heavyweights for the junior heavyweight champion. Hermenegildo Ramirez, the champion, successfully defending against Joe Cartwright, a very fiery competitor. However, this is defense number 3 for Hermenegildo as he puts down another capable junior heavyweight. Hermenegildo Ramirez continues to show that he is the best junior heavyweight in the Wham. We get a match rating of 63, Hermenegildo Ramirez with an in-ring performance of 65, and Joe Cartwright doing good work at a 54. Though after the match, Archie Filer comes out to the ring. Filer gets straight to the point and challenges Hermenegildo Ramirez to another match for the title, insisting Ramirez to not take the coward's way out this time. Just referencing when Hermenegildo Ramirez beat Archie Filer using a flash pinfall, kind of taking advantage of the moment, and Archie Filer thinks that was a little bit of BS. So Archie Filer is looking for another shot of the title. Hermenegildo Ramirez doesn't really say anything in this moment, just an intense stare down, but we get a segment rating of 45. Now our main event of the night is a triple threat in the game, but in canon, in Whammon, it is a handicap match. We've got Blue Mage and Craig Bean, who just dismantled Bronson Fraley at the last event, now putting Neil Allman in a very dangerous situation where his Wham Heavyweight Championship is going to be on the line. Another moment where Neil Allman's back was against the wall. However, another moment where Neil Allman comes through in the clutch. The match would end with Neil Allman successfully defending his title, pinning Blue Mage. Allman seemed off of his game, but he still got an in-ring performance of 66. That just shows what kind of competitor he is. Blue Mage got a 59, and Craig Bean got a 43, in what might be his first taste of a heavyweight championship match. Altogether, this gives us a match rating of 64, very strong, but this match didn't go on without some shenanigans. Black Bull and Gary Gimmick make their way down to the ring. Black Bull is causing mayhem. Given the nature of the match, there isn't a whole lot of rules in place, and Black Bull is almost given free rein to just cause destruction amongst the Dark Carnival henchmen. He's not coming in to aid Neil Allman, mind you, but he is just coming blind with vengeance, looking to hurt the Dark Carnival. Ultimately, this would give Neil Allman the opportunity to score that pinfall and secure that championship. But after the match, Black Bull and Neil Allman are face to face. The crowd is unsure of which direction this will go. The two stand at one another and glance at all of the carnage that has taken place. Neil Allman raises his championship, though Black Bull is unfazed. The champion then looks to strike, though Black Bull is ready. The monster catches the attack and begins to dismantle the champion. There is nobody around to help Neil Allman or stop Black Bull. Neil Allman is brutalized, and the show ends with Black Bull standing tall. Very strong segment rating of 62 here. Of course, Neil Allman is money. Black Bull has some good performance abilities as well, so it's good to see him come through there. And ultimately, the show ends with a major face-off between Wham Heavyweight Champion and Black Bull, and that face-off became physical, with the champion down and Black Bull standing tall. Strong show, overall rating of 61, really good things done here. Of course, the inexperienced workers are going to get exposed and have some bad ratings like Talia Rayleigh's match and Jeremy Funderburk's match. However, top to bottom, I'm feeling good with where we're at. Both of our main events for the heavyweight and junior heavyweight divisions were over 60. Chuck Wellington's even turning in some good matches, making for some compelling action in the Oklahoma openweight division. The women's Wham Prix has not found resolution by the end of 1932, so that's going to be big where it's going to just keep going, and we've got even more things moving in the background. After the show, we praise Talia Rayleigh, Neil Allman, and Sebastian Morales. We can go back to just praising the folks that are doing good, because we don't have to be in damage control mode because of our morale. What a rush. Super Monkey, swollen calf muscle, 30 days, but he's going to be alright. Profiting $15,000, and that is with paying for that chiropractor backstage. And then the big one, moving up from 49 to 50 in the Mid-South. We also go from 15 to 16 in our Mexico regions, gaining popularity in our other American regions as well. And speaking of the women's Wham Prix, this is where our top 7 are sitting as of right now. Number 1, unseeded Kuni Hashiguchi just needs one more victory to qualify for that title match, but who's going to join her? In second place, we've got Ivy Baldridge with 3 victories and just 1 more point away from qualification, at 3 victories and 199 points, so 2 wins and 1 point away from qualification. Right behind her though, Talia Rayleigh, 2 victories, 178 points. In fourth, you've got Veronica Lutter. A bit of a surprising one, but again, her lack of availability has really hindered her ability to score points and get appearances, I guess, for lack of a better term. So she's in fourth. In fifth, we've got Berbidia Abeta. 1 victory, so she's 4 wins away, but she's only 46 points away from that qualification. Sheila Velasco, our last lady with a victory, she's got 1 and only 100 points. Mariana Calvo sitting at 7th with 0 wins but 119 points. So it's pretty clear that we're going to see Kuni Hashiguchi in the final, I think, but as far as who is going to be that other woman to join her, we really don't know. Are we going to get that clarification in the next episode? We just might. We've gained a lot of ground in this episode, however, that's going to do it for us here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy.